Want to go deeper with your AI chats? AI has become part of how we work every day, but not every question you ask is best handled in a normal chat window. Sometimes you need to go deeper, and that's where deep research comes in. So to break this down, I've invited our CTO, Brad Edwards, back into the studio to help us understand what deep research is. Welcome, Brad.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mel. It's good to be back.
All right, Brad, so let's start at the top. What is deep research?
It's a tool that's embedded in many of these AI solutions we use. Gemini has one, ChatGPT has one. It's an agentic tool that lets you go in and actually perform what, for sake of actually using the definition and what I'm actually trying to define, like a deeper research of what you're looking to go after. I know that sounds silly, but
Deep research is deep research.
yeah, exactly. But no, so if you think of when, before we had these AI tools, often when you were trying to learn something complex, you didn't just go to the web and find one article that explained everything you possibly needed to know, right?
Right.
You would go in and you would say, all right, like I'm going to search for the keyword and I'm going to start clicking on articles. I'm going to read through the articles. And then I'm going to say, all right, like, is that getting me to where I need to go? Well, now with this deep research tool, you can prompt, the AI tool, the LLM, to go essentially search the web for you and compile the expert opinions, identify where there's dissent from those, and really come up with just a short, consumable answer to whatever it is you're trying to learn.
That identifying dissent is what makes this kind of like an outstanding feature.
Yeah, I think so, because, I think one of the things that frustrates everyone with AI tools is when they're too agreeable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's nice, but I don't need it to make me feel good. I need it to tell me the answer.
Wonderful
that
job,
I'm
Brad.
trying to look for. And so what I want to know, when everybody's saying something and then some other people are saying that's not accurate, I want it to point that out. And I think that, like, because it's an agentic solution, it's not just performing simple chat completions, right? It's really going and searching the web, reading those articles, going back through and saying, hey, does this really, does this meet what the user's asking me? Should I include this? Does this other article agree with that? Does this third article disagree with that? And trying to come to what that, expert consensus opinion is.
That's pretty powerful stuff, in my opinion, because that was really hard to do. Back in the day, we went to the school of hard knocks and we had to do this all by hand.
Yeah.
Right? And what if we didn't catch all the references and missed all the information, brought it up in front of a committee and presented this new idea, and then they're like, no, have you read this, and this? Sorry. Yeah.
That's right. And
so help you avoid that.
Correct. And to your point, I think where you're alluding to is that there's sources that get cited in this stuff when it comes back to.
Right.
And so, with each one of the bullet points, when you're looking at a response, it'll tell you that, this came from this blog, this came from, this expert's opinion, this came from the standard Microsoft documentation. And it really helps build confidence in those answers when you can see that it's not just training data that's coming out of an LLM, but it's got sources behind all of the responses that, just help you feel better about what's coming back.
So earlier you said that both of the current core Gen AI tools that we have now, Gemini, ChatGPT, have this feature. Do they work in similar ways? Are there differences that we need to know about?
They're very similar. I think the key differences is really more just in what the output looks like to the user. I think they're generally going out to the web and doing this same sort of research and trying to, surface that consensus opinion for you. I think the key difference is if you look at OpenAI, you get responses that are really just sort of baked into the chat experience. Oftentimes, it's just going to be part of your chat flow. In Gemini, they tend to try and create like a research paper for you alongside, like in their version of Canvas. Which one's better? I don't know. I think they're probably both pretty good at doing this stuff. I've used the ChatGPT one quite a bit. Usually as a rule of thumb, I feel like when I'm going to spend more than about 10 minutes searching the web and trying to figure something out with a whole bunch of articles, I'm just going to kick this stuff off to deep research and let it go. And I've been very impressed with the results.
Is there like a magic formula for how you get this thing prompted and started to get it on the right path?
Communication, obviously, is one thing that's key. I think a way that you can ensure good communication is with something called meta prompting. People, used to write their prompts. They would ask an LLM to give them a response. And What they found was they were starting to get too lazy to even write their prompts. So they started giving just very basic prompts and asking the AI engine itself to write the prompt for them, and then read what it comes back with and say, yes, I like that, or no, I don't like that. It sounds silly, but it's actually a pretty powerful tool, because while it may not actually give you, a full prompt that helps you get, deep research to give you a result that you want, it starts getting you thinking about like what you should put in your prompt. Like if nothing else, it says, all right, oh gosh, I didn't think about including that level of detail. I probably ought to add that in. So that's one just sort of, pattern that I think people can use if they're having a hard time putting together a very detailed prompt is, give it what you think and then ask AI to generate the prompt for you that you should then feed back in to start the deep research, and then iterate that until you can get something that looks a little bit more, comprehensive for what you're looking for.
Okay, this is really getting me curious, so I'm going to try this out myself. So let's check this out.
Let's take a look at the new deep research functionality by using the scenario of being a brand new consultant trying to implement Commerce POS in D365. First thing, I'm going to enable the new deep research function on ChatGPT and give it a detailed prompt. I'm going to explain that I'm a new consultant and I want a step-by-step configuration guide for Commerce POS. It's going to ask me some follow-up questions to tailor its response. Once I answer those questions, it's going to begin its deep research. For the sake of this demo, we're going to fast forward and it's going to do its research for about 14 minutes. It's going to come up with 16 sources, and it did 52 searches to come up with my step-by-step guide. As I begin to scroll through the guide, you'll see it's very detailed. It's giving me an introduction, explaining key configurations, and giving me a step-by-step guide. It's even coming up with screenshots of the environment and what to configure. As you can see, I scroll for quite a long time. It's very detailed, and it's giving me everything I need to be able to configure the system for Commerce POS. Now, I want to relate this to a normal chat with ChatGPT. If I use the exact same prompt without enabling deep research, as you can see here, it thought for only 15 seconds, and it's giving me a step-by-step guide that's only 11 steps long. Comparing the two results, you'll see that even though standard chat is quicker and deep research takes longer, deep research is going to give you much more detailed results.
Okay, now that we've seen that in action, any final thoughts for us, Brad?
Yeah, sure. So I think that, one thing to keep in mind, this, like anything else, is a tool that has, its specific advantages over other tools. There are still many use cases where simple chat completions win out. If you need a factual response, you should probably just ask, ChatGPT, maybe even thinking mode. Yeah, standard chat, get something quick. So speed of response time is something that, the completions is really good at, but it's something that deep research is not good at. So if you're not willing to wait 10 minutes, you shouldn't use deep research, right? Like that's just one of those things that's out there. I think another one is sometimes it's unclear. You asked earlier, what are good use cases for this? Oftentimes, I'll log in and think, oh, I can get this with simple chat completions. I'll just start asking questions and I'll ask follow-up questions, etc. Well, then I find that I'm not getting anywhere, and I find out real quick that I'm getting frustrated, and then that'll trigger me to go into this deep research mode and to say, all right, well, I'm going to turn deep research on. It's going to feed everything from that prompt back in, and then I can kick it off and see what's going on 10 minutes later and just go get a cup of coffee or something. So I think the key is just to remain flexible and just try this stuff. Like we're telling with everybody, we want everyone to adopt it. This is an excellent tool that I think is, really a home run that these guys have hit. And I'm just excited to see everybody get out there and use it. So please pick it up and use it for sure.
Deep research is not something you'll use every time, but it's an incredible tool when you need depth, structure, and broader insight than a quick chat can provide. Whether you're using ChatGPT or Gemini, knowing when to flip that switch to deep research is the real key. So I encourage you, and Brad does too, give it a try when you're tackling your next big question. All right, thanks for joining me, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, and catch you all next time on Sunrise Compass. See you later.